The Green Party renounces its former presidential candidate. NASA research appears to violate the laws of physics. And the fight for the Islamic State's capital city in Syria has begun. This is SkyWatchTV for Wednesday, November 30th, 2016. I'm Derek Gilbert. First up, 2,000-year-old lead tablets appear to contain the very earliest mention of Jesus outside the Bible. These were reportedly found in a cave in northern Jordan in 2008 by a Bedouin tribesman. The lead pages, called codices, are held together like pages in a three-ring binder. A number of scholars have called them fake. They were first revealed to the world back in 2011. But a pair of authors now are campaigning to get them accepted as genuine. David Elkington, scholar of ancient religious history and archaeology, one of the few who's examined these tablets, says that they could be, and I quote, "the major discovery of Christian history," end quote. Now, we've heard that before in connection with various lost gospels, lost gospel of Jesus, of Judas, of Thomas, and so forth. The James ossuary is another artifact that supposedly was going to change history. They haven't. Now, what Elkington is claiming, and what these tablets apparently say, is that Jesus wasn't trying to create a new religion, which as Christians we know he wasn't anyway, but that's beside the point. Elkington claims that Jesus was trying to restore an ancient tradition going back 1,000 years to the time of King David, of a group that worshiped at the Temple of Solomon a God that they believed was both male and female. Now, there have been some tests on the lead. It's been found to be consistent with samples of lead from the ancient Roman period, and experts who looked at the text believe it does date from the 1st century, within a few years of Jesus' ministry. But just because a text is ancient doesn't mean it's authentic. In other words, it does not necessarily preserve what Jesus actually taught. I mean, we have the eyewitness testimony, after all. Matthew, John, Peter, Luke, James, Jude. Don't worry, this will blow over. Somebody trying to sell a book. Archaeologists in Egypt have found a city that dates back 5,000 years, they say, close to the temple of Seti I in Abydos. The city, they believe, was the home to important officials, might even be the capital city from the very beginning of Egyptian history. The Islamic State has claimed responsibility for the attack at Ohio State University on Monday, saying that the 18-year-old student who injured 11 people with his car and a butcher knife was one of theirs. Made the claim through its official news agency, Al-Amaq, but then ISIS has a track record of claiming responsibility for every act of Islamic terror around the world to spread the fear. The fight for the Islamic State's capital has begun. Jerusalem Post reports that the Syrian Democratic Forces, backed by the U.S., have launched Operation Euphrates Wrath. Colonel Bob McGinnis, author of Future War, says that the fight for Raqqa will be a slow and difficult process, like it is turning out to be in Mosul, Iraq. And adding to the difficulty is that this battle is just one of 5 interlocking fights taking place now inside Syria. Turkish-backed Sunni Arab rebels against the Assad regime, the Western-backed SDF, dominated by the Kurdish YPG militia, against the Islamic State, the Kurdish YPG against the Assad regime, Sunni Islamists, like the former al-Nusra Front, against ISIS, and Sunni rebels against the Syrian Democratic Front. And of course, now Turkey has something to say about this as well. Following news that the Assad regime over the weekend made significant gains in eastern Aleppo, may be on the verge of taking eastern Aleppo, which could be a death blow to the rebel movement inside Syria. Turkey's President Recep Tayyip Erdogan declared that his armed forces are in northern Syria and northern Iraq, not just to battle ISIS, al-Qaeda-linked terrorists, and the Kurds, awkward because they're allied with the United States, but to overthrow Bashar al-Assad. Now, Erdogan justifies sending Turkish troops into Iraq and Syria because, he says, the United Nations isn't doing anything. News sources from the region report that Erdogan talked with Russia's President Vladimir Putin twice last week. Understandable, since attacking Syrian government troops would necessarily mean firing on their Russian allies. This could get ugly. In Mosul, citizens caught in the fighting there There were about 1 million of them when the battle started about 6 weeks ago, already caught in a crossfire. And you might remember, downriver from a massive dam that is crumbling, built on porous sandstone, and hasn't been maintained since the summer of 2014, now find themselves running out of drinking water. A pipeline that supplied water to about 650,000 civilians in Mosul was hit during the fighting a few days back, and maintenance crews have not been able to get to that pipeline to make repairs because of the ongoing violence. Here at home, a win for Donald Trump, who's not even officially the president yet. President-elect Trump announced yesterday that he and Vice President Mike Pence, still officially the governor of Indiana, reached a deal to keep about 1,000 jobs with the Carrier Corporation in Indiana. The air conditioner manufacturer had announced earlier this year that it was moving 2,000 jobs out of the state to Mexico. Meanwhile, the Trump team continues assembling its administration. They've announced an interesting possibility for Treasury Secretary, or at least a name that has surfaced is interesting. John Allison, former CEO of the bank BB&T. See, Allison is a critic of the Federal Reserve System, an advocate of returning to the gold standard. Allison said his long-term ambition for monetary policy would be to get rid of the Fed altogether and go back to a private banking system. We'll see what happens there. Coming up, the Green Party disavows the recount effort led by its own presidential candidate. And NASA defies the laws of physics. That's ahead on SkyWatch TV.
Coming exclusively from SkyWatch TV for a very limited time starting December 6, 2016. When you purchase the new 3-book special investigative research collection, Abaddon Ascending, Final Fire, and the Sheerith Imperative from SkyWatchTV.com, you'll receive the largest giveaway in SkyWatch TV history. An unprecedented value of over $400 in free books, DVDs, audio files, and the never-before-released data DVD library from Dr. Michael Lake on the Sheerith Imperative, which includes 56 Christian classic works on PDF. All 28 episodes in Dr. Michael Lake's Understanding the Kingdom audio series, the latest version of Eastward for Windows, the 3-part Into the Multiverse television series where Josh Peck interviews Dr. Michael Lake on the Sheerith Imperative, and nearly 3 hours of bonus interviews on video with Dr. Lake on the Sharpening Report. For your library or to give away as gifts. Also included in this biggest giveaway in SkyWatch TV history are Josh Peck's full-length 2016 DVD presentations, The Quantum Future and Extra-Dimensional UFOs. Dr. Michael Lake's full-length 2016 DVD presentations, Jericho, The Anatomy of a Stronghold, and The Shinar Directive. The new 5-part SkyWatch TV special investigative report on the books, Abaddon Ascending, Final Fire, and the Sheerith Imperative. But that's not all. You'll also receive the new Best of SkyWatch Television on DVD, over 5.5 hours of the most popular episodes in SkyWatch TV history. Travel through the multiverse on the new Best of Into the Multiverse on DVD. Over 5 hours of audio with Josh Peck on the coming Technocalypse. The best-selling book, The Final Roman Emperor. An incredible 5-year subscription to the SkyWatch magazine. 2 brand new free gift books. And the never-before-released data DVD library from Dr. Michael Lake on the Sheerith Imperative. For your library or to give away as gifts. An unprecedented value of over $400 in never-before-offered free products. This is the biggest giveaway in SkyWatch TV history, and it's yours absolutely free when you purchase the new 3-book special investigative research collection, Abaddon Ascending, Final Fire, and the Sheerith Imperative for only $39.95 plus shipping from SkyWatchTV.com, beginning December 6, 2016. But be advised, this astonishing promotion is limited to first come, first serve while supplies last. So it's urgent that beginning December 6, 2016, you place your order for the new 3-book special investigative research collection. This offer is on a limited time basis and will end without notification. So be sure to visit SkyWatchTV.com to follow the updates. In the countdown to the biggest giveaway in SkyWatch TV history, the unprecedented value of over $400 in never-before-offered free products while supplies last. For more details, log on to skywatchtv.com.
It's Dr. Mike Week on SkyWatch TV. Dr. Michael Lake discusses his new book, The Shirit Imperative. You'll find that on SkyWatch TV, our network broadcast. Look for a complete listing of dates and times at the website, skywatchtv.com/channels. And this week's SkyWatch TV web exclusive is Dr. Michael Heiser, author of the forthcoming book, Reversing Hermon, as in Mount Hermon. He talks about the Watchers and the origins of evil. That program, a web exclusive only at the SkyWatch TV channels on Roku, YouTube, and skywatchtv.com. Former Green Party presidential candidate Jill Stein is getting a lot more attention now for her recount effort than she did for her campaign. 12 times more attention, according to research by newsbusters.com. She's pushing ahead anyway, even though she told CBS News last week that she has no evidence of fraud. But her colleagues at the Green Party are putting distance between themselves and the recount led by Stein. A letter written by Green Party Senate candidate Margaret Flowers, signed by dozens of prominent members of the Green Party, say, quote, "We do not support the current recount being undertaken by Jill Stein. We are well aware of the undemocratic actions taken during the primaries by the Democratic National Committee and the Clinton campaign. Greens cannot be perceived to be allied with such a party." End quote. Awkward. Here's another reason for the rest of the United States to support the hashtag CalExit movement. This is a social media campaign that started the morning after the election. Californians that want to secede from the union because they are afraid of President-elect Donald Trump. The state government in California is targeting greenhouse gases produced by dairy cows and other livestock. Yes, California is preparing to regulate cow flatulence. We've talked about this before. The bill signed by Governor Jerry Brown back in September regulates methane from livestock operations and landfills. State regulators want farmers to reduce emissions by using methane digesters, which would capture gas emitted by cow manure. And you know the old saying, manure happens, and turns it into electricity. Dairy farmers there say it's going to drive up the cost of operations at a time they're already struggling after 5 years of drought. Hard to feed the cattle when the grass won't grow. But we can expect even more regulation from the federal government over the next 6 weeks. Federal agencies are pushing to roll out a whole bunch of new rules before Mr. Trump takes office January 20th. Even though Republicans say that the GOP-controlled Congress and the incoming president will have the power to erase a lot of these new rules after the inauguration. Regulations in the pipeline for commodities include rules for commodities speculation, air pollution from the oil industry, doctors' Medicare drug payments, high-skilled immigrant workers, tightening state oversight of online colleges, and protecting funding for Planned Parenthood. Trump has said he'll wipe out much of these regulations as soon as he takes office. Now, never in my life did I expect NASA to do something that even Montgomery Scott couldn't do.
I can't change the laws of physics.
That's right. NASA has published research that seemed to defy Newton's third law of motion, defying the laws of physics. Of course, the third law of motion says that every action has an equal and opposite reaction. And if it turns out this research is accurate, it casts doubt on a foundational premise of modern physics. 20 years ago, a British scientist named Roger Scheuer invented a theoretical rocket propellant system that creates a propulsion system that creates thrust without propellant. It's called the M drive, electromagnetic drive. It relies on microwaves to generate thrust, or momentum, actually. If it works, the M drive could be a lightweight rocket engine that would reduce costs significantly and increase the speed of rockets. Theoretically, the M drive could take a rocket to Mars in 2.5 months. Well, skeptics laughed when it was first brought it to public attention. I mean, no propulsion, no thrust, right? Equal opposite reaction. But NASA has published the research into the M drive in a peer-reviewed journal, and they say it works. The funny thing about all this is that Isaac Newton was a Christian, and he would find all of this really, really amusing, I'm sure. It seems to me that the only place we can be sure that the third law of motion actually works, equal opposite reaction, is in politics. And speaking of physics, from the realm of quantum physics, a new theory may explain why we get so many bizarre observations from quantum mechanics. This is called the many interacting worlds hypothesis, which suggests that parallel worlds do exist and interact with our own. They still have to run the math on this to see if it holds up. Howard Wiseman, a physicist from Griffith University in Australia, one of the researchers who came up with this theory, says that the idea of human interaction with other universes is no longer pure fantasy. And as Christians, we say, "Chuh." We've known about unseen worlds since, the book of Genesis. And finally, there are some scientists who just aren't happy with the engineering work that God did when he designed the earth. So a United Nations group has been working on investigating ways to re-engineer the oceans and the atmosphere to prevent runaway global warming. The suggestions include pouring nutrients in the ocean to save coral reefs, or spraying tiny particles into the atmosphere to reflect sunlight back into space. Chemtrails? That's crazy talk. This geoengineering report will be presented in December at a meeting in Cancun, UN Convention on Biodiversity. Now, why Cancun in December? I mean, if global warming is a thing, why didn't they hold this meeting in Minneapolis or Winnipeg, Calgary? Yesterday, you remember, we reported that NASA's own measurements have shown that temperatures around the world have been dropping at a record rate since the middle of the year, and we may be moving into a global cooling period, in fact, a mini ice age, some scientists say. It could be that all that's standing between you, me, and a frozen future of glaciers and permafrost is flatulating cows. Thank God for dairy farmers. Find us on the web at skywatchtv.com. You'll find my website, derekpgilbert.com. And we thank you for watching as we keep watch. I'm Derek Gilbert, and this is SkyWatch TV.
Many ancient prophets foresaw Abaddon rising from the underworld in this very age. The satanic human sacrifice by CERN employees in front of the god Shiva was called parody. But all occult masters understand that symbolism was a powerful invitation for a doorway to be opened at CERN.
The secret origins of CERN are nefarious to the core.
Sergio Bertolucci, the science director at CERN, admits that they're trying to open a doorway to a parallel reality, and they hope that something, unknown unknowns he calls them, will come through it. And CERN was built right over Apalliacom, where the ancients believed the doorway to Abaddon and the bottomless pit exists.
Is the bottomless pit from Revelation chapter 9 about to open? The biggest and most secretive investigation ever is set to be published, disclosing what no report has done before in Abaddon Ascending.
Technology today is being developed so that we can communicate with extra-dimensional entities.
The ancient conspiracy at the center of CERN's most secretive mission. But how will God's people, the remnant, prevail over the principalities of darkness during the final showdown between heaven and hell? Though hell may have its directive, heaven has its imperative. Increasing evidence from around the globe of miracles, healings, and prophetic visions indicate that God is already raising up an army of believers for the greatest awakening yet. Coming this December, internationally acclaimed best-selling authors and researchers Dr. Thomas Horn, author and researcher of quantum physics Josh Peck, college president Dr. Michael Lake, investigative researcher Reverend Donna Howell, and the host of Southwest Radio Ministries Dr. Larry Spargimino. A research finale so huge and important it had to be published in a new 3-book collection. Abaddon Ascending. The ancient conspiracy at the center of CERN's most secretive mission, the Sheerith Imperative, empowering the remnant to overcome the gates of hell.
He always has a plan. He's playing chess while the devil's playing checkers.
Final Fire. Is the next great awakening right around the corner?
There are signs all around the world right now that we are on the cusp of the next great spiritual awakening.
There is revival breaking out now where there has never been the faith.
This 3-book collection available December 6, 2016. For more details, log on to SkyWatchTV.com.